Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of my F1 MyTeam career mode. If you did miss the last episode around Monza, Max Verstappen got the win. We did finish P6 in the end after having a opening lap incident with Logan Sargent, and in the end essentially doing a no-stop race, pitting on the end of lap 1 to repair our damage and put on the hard tyres to go to the end and still maintain our P6 finish in the end. We're going to go straight into a couple of upgrades now. In the durability, our engine wear has been pretty shocking, and we also want to try and improve how quickly we can upgrade our vehicle to try and get these upgrades just out a bit faster so we can try and push ourselves up through the pack. As you can see here, we're still last in the performance, so we still need to make plenty of upgrades, but the battle in the top 5 has definitely gone up, and according to the graph there, Ferrari are still second fastest, but ultimately it says Ferrari is the fastest car at the moment. And now we've got a email from Max saying that it looks like the regulations are changing once again, so we're going to have to really start thinking about saving some R&D points so we can try and make sure we don't lose any of our crucial upgrades that we've made so far this season, and try and get into next season a lot stronger than we were this at the start of this year, and just try and improve as each season goes on. As we're going to jump straight into practice now, and this is the race strategy program, and we're going to run a little bit wide here, but we're going to also pull it into the pits because it's the end of the lap 4, so I'm not going to actually get even into the green for the strategy. So I was already 1 second down, so might as well just cool it early, come into the pits and practice our pit entry. And I was a little bit conservative there, but I'd rather be conservative than picking up penalties. And so now this is our tyre wear management around here. The tyre wear is going to be absolutely shocking. It's Carlos Sainz is actually out at the session, so it's going to be interesting to see what's happened here. And it looks like he's going to make a move up the inside of one of the Alpha Tauris, and he's made contact with, I think that was a Haas. And awkwardly, it's kind of actually put me off here to see his car still sitting there on the apex. So we're going to just run really wide and get into the grass. And as soon as I gave it a tiny little bit of throttle to try and keep going, I ended up just looping it. So we're going to have to possibly do that program once again. But now this is our qualifying pace. Usually our qualifying program in practice isn't really that great. We're like on edge of making it into the green or even a purple, but at the moment our pace on these soft tires is absolutely wicked. And there you are, we get into the purple, and we're projected to be finishing 5th, which is pretty cool. So we do end up the session in P1, the fastest of the soft tire riders, but it looks like majority of the field was on the mediums, so hopefully we don't get our hopes up too much. But pace does seem to be looking strong, especially during the daytime, as we now was going to start getting prepped to go into our qualifying session, because ultimately it's going to be crucial this race weekend to make sure we get a good qualifying, because this place isn't the best place for overtaking. So it's also a sprint race weekend, so it's not like during the race when we might be able to make up plenty of overtakes ready for the main Grand Prix. So it's going to be extremely crucial for us to try and get a good qualifying session here. And our first lap's honestly not going to be that great. I've also short shifted, so I was a bit eager on the paddle shift there and upshifted a bit early, and that did put us essentially last. And as now, I'm currently fast forwarding to try and let the track rubber in just that little bit, but to be honest, I kind of got a little bit distracted, and we very quickly ran out of time for me to actually go back out and run another lap. So yeah, a bit of a rookie mistake.
It was at this moment that he knew. He f***ed up.
So as we now take a look at these opening qualifying results, George Russell, Leclerc and Alonso were your top 3 fastest in qualifying 1, so it's cool to see the Aston Martin back up there again, and no need to really look through it because we've been knocked out once again. So just gotta try and see what we can do here from last position. Hopefully we can make up a few spots.
Off the back of a fantastic qualifying session, it's time to see how our starting grid looks for today's sprint. An immense lap from Lewis Hamilton yesterday puts him on pole position, just ahead of George Russell, who starts this event from P2. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Leclerc, Sainz, Verstappen, Norris, Perez, Fernando Alonso, Oscar Piastri, Gasly, Ocon, Albon, Stroll, Bottas, Magnussen, Joe, Hulkenberg, Sargent, Sonoda, De Vries, Iwasa, and the Rainmaster. And with preparations almost complete, let's head trackside for today's sprint. Anthony Davidson joins me again for today's race. They've been involved in a number of costly incidents lately. That's got to affect their mindset going into this race.
It's not an ideal situation by any means. When you get into a bad run like that, there's always a risk of frustration creeping in, which can cause more mistakes and locks you into this vicious cycle. Hopefully today they can get through turn 1 cleanly and stay calm for the rest of the race.
Alright, sprint race time. It's been a while since we've done one of these. Gotta try and see what we can do here. It's only a 10-lap sprint, so there's not a lot of time for us to try and make our way up through the field. We're starting on the mediums, actually. It looks like majority of the field is going to be starting on the softs, but myself and Iwasa both gone for the mediums, thinking that the softs could actually possibly fall away pretty quickly, especially considering this is a sprint race, so everyone's going to be going full beans for this race. So I would imagine those soft tyres would fall off the cliff pretty quickly if everyone's trying to be going at it very quickly. So hopefully these mediums are going to be the right choice of tyre to be on. As we've now completed our warm-up phase, we've actually had quite a bit of a slower warm-up lap than everyone else. I was last. There was no one really I was going to be holding up. So we're going to try and maximise here our grid box position. But I don't want to get over greedy, so we're going to leave it only 0.3 of a metre back. Don't want to get reset to being like a full metre behind. So as we go to lights out and wear off, so we get a pretty good start compared to our teammate Iwasa, and it looks like Sonoda's had an absolute shocker, and so De Vries has been held up. He's going to be blocked in by Sargent, so we're going to send it up the inside of Nick De Vries. Iwasa's actually found a heap of space going around the outside, which seems to have proved dividends, and in the end, oh, we've made contact with Logan Sargent going into turn 2. I wasn't expecting the field to back up so quickly, and that's caught us off guard, so we didn't even make it to turn 2 before we ended up being caught out by how slow everyone is at the back. So in the end, we haven't lost any positions from where we're going to start, but it's very disappointing to not even make it to turn 2 on the opening lap of this sprint race. So now that means all of the work has to be done in the main Grand Prix. As we now take a look at these results for the sprint race, so it was Hamilton, Leclerc, and Russell were the top 3. Sainz, Verstappen, Norris, Perez, and Alonso round out the points. Remember, only the top 8 in a sprint race do claim points. And then it was Piastri and Ocon who rounded out the top 10, unfortunately just shy of getting some points. And then we find ourselves as the DNFer in the Grand Prix. Sorry, sprint race. So as we now get ourselves prepped for the Grand Prix.
Once again here in Qatar. Last year we took a year off due to a small footballing tournament that was being hosted, but it's all excitement on the track now. We're back here in Losail for a track that's 3.34 miles long. There are 16 turns around its unique 3-prong shape and just a single DRS zone out of turn 16. It's fast and it's flowing, and there's a good overtaking opportunity with DRS down the long straight and into turn 1. It's time to see how our drivers are stacking up after yesterday's exciting qualifying session. Lewis Hamilton lines up on pole position, with Charles Leclerc alongside. Considering the rest of the grid, we have Russell, Sainz, Verstappen, Norris, Perez, Fernando Alonso, Oscar Piastri, Ocon, Stroll, Albon, Magnussen, Hulkenberg, Joe, Sonoda, Sargent, Iwasa, De Vries, Gasly, Bottas, and the Rainmaster. And with lights out just moments away, it's time to go down to the track. A warm welcome to Anthony Davidson, who's beside me in the commentary box today. The last few races have been a bit rough for them, unable to get a clean run. That's got to have some effect on their confidence, surely.
Certainly confidence is an important factor. And every time you're involved in an incident, it's not just the car you damage, but that confidence as well. But all the top racing drivers were able to tune that out when the race gets underway and focus on the job at hand.
Now, we've got to have a good look at the strategies. And I really want to go for this alternate strategy. I reckon the soft tyre is pretty much going to be a useless tyre for this Grand Prix. So we're going to start on the mediums. But it looks like I have forgotten to select the medium to hard strategy. So in the end, we're going to be starting the race on the soft tyre. And hopefully we can make this work. I reckon it's going to be very tough to make a one-stop work from a soft to a hard tyre. I just don't see it going to be working. I reckon the hard tyre will definitely have to be the way to go. I don't see a way to make a soft and a medium tyre work, as we're once again going to be pulling into our grid spot. Hopefully we can once again get another purple pulling spot. Yes, and we were a bit closer than last time as well, as we now go to the countdown. It's 5 red lights and we're off. On these soft tyres, hopefully we can get a good start, but it's actually a pretty even start across most of the field. Iwasa up in P18, who's managed to defend from Pierre Gasly, who's currently sitting 20th. And so we're going to swing it around the outside and try and make up a few positions, as Iwasa did in the sprint race before we were taken out. And so we've gone off track a little bit, but we didn't quite make the pass while we were off track, so we managed to keep the position. We're going to try and give Gasly a bit of a squeeze on the exit of turn 2, but unfortunately he's going to keep it up the inside, which is now going to give him the inside for turns 4 and 5. So we're going to try and swing it around the outside and then see if we can't set ourselves a bit of a dive bomb heading into turn 6, which is probably going to be the best overtaking opportunity. And we're going to make them pass on both Iwasa and Logan Sargent. So we now find ourselves P18 by the time we get into the middle of the second sector. But we've got a lot of work to do if we want to try and get anywhere close to trying to find some points around this place where we do actually have quite a bit of pace, but I don't think we've got the tyre wear to compensate for the entire race. So hopefully we can try and make something work here, as we're now currently watching Fernando Alonso. He's been battling quite a lot with his teammate actually off the start of this race, and behind us it's Logan Sargent trying to defend from our teammate Iwasa, and we actually tried to go around the outside in the smoke, and it's Nico Hulkenberg. Nico Hulkenberg's got an engine failure, and he's actually blocked up 4 or 5 cars there, so we've made up a chunk of positions there thanks to Nico unfortunately having that engine failure. So we're going to take all the positions we can get when they come to us. So we're going to do a bit of an order check now. It's been 3 laps, and the field's settled down a little bit. So we've got Hamilton and Russell. So it's currently a Mercedes 1-2, which I'm sure Mercedes would be absolutely buzzing right now. Verstappen is on the final podium paying positions at the moment. And then you've got Sergio Perez, currently P4. And in the bottom right corner, we've got ourselves here. We're looking up to make a move on Zhou Guanyu. We're going to have to tuck back into the slipstream. Carlos Sainz is 5th ahead of his teammate Charles Leclerc. Lando Norris, Ocon, Alonso and Piastri find themselves rounding out the top 10 as we do successfully make the move on Zhou Guanyu, and then it's Stroll, Albon, Magnussen, and then ourselves now in P14 after making that move on the Chinese driver. And then it's the 2 AlphaTauris in P16, P17 of Tsunoda and Nick De Vries, and then you find Bottas, Sargent, Gasly, and Iwasa is currently last on the road after Nico Hulkenberg has unfortunately DNF'd after that engine failure that we witnessed firsthand. And just looking at the timing, I reckon Yuki Tsunoda is probably struggling a little bit there on pace, as he's got quite the train from P16 onwards, all right behind him. So seems like the AlphaTauris don't really have the pace to be keeping up with the entire midfield. And unfortunately for Pierre Gasly, he's had a bit of a shocking sprint race, so he finds himself back there where his teammate is a little bit up front. But Lewis Hamilton, he's made a big mistake here. He must have locked up going into turn 1, because he's now dropped 2 positions. He was leading and now he finds himself 3rd. So a costly mistake that could cost him a shot at the race win. As we now have a look back to our POV, we've caught up to the back of Kevin Magnussen. We're looking to make a dive bomb here while we're still on these soft tyres, and we're going to successfully make it down the inside at turn 6, but he's going to keep the nose in there. So at turn 7 we're going to have to swing it around the outside and try and finish off the move there, and we successfully keep the move done. As we now take a look back at the front of the pack, this is Sergio Perez. He's trying to defend now from Carlos Sainz, so the Ferraris looking like they've got quite a bit of pace. Both Ferraris right there in this top 6 battle for the lead, and it looks like Sainz will keep the position. He's going to give Sergio Perez a bit of a squeeze on the exit of the corner to get the job done. And now onto the end of lap 6, going on to lap 7, we find ourselves in the DRS of Alex Albon, and we're going to try and make the move around the outside here, and we're going to actually make it done. It seems like pretty easily, although he's going to come back at us on the exit, but ultimately we've got the inside line for turn 2, as Mark has actually given us a new strategy. So I wonder if he's definitely seen some tyre wear, so he's actually wanting us to come in next lap. So a whole 4 laps early. So these soft tyres are definitely falling off the cliff as we actually make a tiny little bit of contact there with Alex Albon, which I reckon was why the rear end snapped out on us. As now Fernando Alonso is looking to make a move on the McLaren of Lando Norris, and he's going to be trying to make the same move that we did around the outside, and it looks like the inside line is actually quite dirty as Lando Norris struggles to keep the rear end of his McLaren in line, as now we've caught up to the back of this battle pack and we're losing so much time as we can't get past the Canadian of Lance Stroll. So we're going to actually box this lap as predicted by Mark, as we're going to box in. We're going to try and maximize everything here as we get it just slow down ever so slightly. We only had 1k under the speed limit there and had it all locked up, so we only just managed to get it slowed down, absolutely maximizing our pit entry. As we come in for our very early pit stop in the end, we get a purple turn in, so hopefully the pit crew now can do their part and put us onto the set of hard tyres nice and quick, and they do a 2.4 second stop, so that's pretty good compared to what we were at the start of the season. But now we're stone last, we're dead last. We have to make up some positions. We have to use these hard tyres very well as we now go back to the front of the queue. And this is Charles Leclerc trying to now copy his teammate by making the move into turn 1 on Sergio Perez, but it looks like the outside line for this AI is much better around turn 1, so Sergio Perez only just manages to keep the position ahead of Charles Leclerc. And now, fast forwarding a little bit, this is George Russell. He's holding up this pack now a little bit. He's starting to lose touch just slightly with Lewis Hamilton, and it looks like Carlos Sainz is looking very eager to try and make the move. Usually, going to turn 10, that can be a very good passing opportunity as you swing it out really wide to try and make the inside line work. But it looks like Carlos Sainz has actually had a good run coming out of turn 10, heading to turn 11, and heading into 12, 13, 14, triple right-hander, which is actually very fun to drive, and he's going to make the move stick. A very unorthodox place to try and make the move, but he's made it stick. But has he made the overtake a tad too soon, as they actually haven't hit the DRS detection point, as the white line is right there. So now George Russell should actually get the DRS from Carlos Sainz, and Sainz is just outside of 1 second from Lewis Hamilton, so he won't have the DRS to defend himself. As we're now right on board with George Russell, and this is exactly what's going to happen. George Russell, with the power of DRS, is going to get back by Carlos Sainz. So I reckon Sainz has made the move a tad too early there, but he's going to really fight this position on. But in the end, that outside line is going to work dividends for George Russell, and as Carlos Sainz gets a bit of a squeeze on the exit of turn 3, and back to our POV now. It's only taken a couple of laps, but we have caught back up to the back of Logan Sargent, and we're going to try and make a cheeky overtake here going into turn 6 on these fresh hard tyres, which are definitely much faster than these old soft tyres that a vast majority of the grid is currently running. And now we're going to be looking to try and get past Iwasa very quickly, as we actually lock up the rears, because I had to slam the brakes mid-corner because I thought I was going to run up the back of him. And this is what I was talking about before. Swing it out wide, and you can get the inside line for turn 10 and make a pretty easy overtake in the end, and just chuck down a little bit of ERS just to make sure that our teammate isn't going to try and fight back again. And this battle between Russell and the two Ferraris continues as I go now 3 wide down the main straight, and Russell's going to very smartly back out of this and let the two Ferraris battle it out, and Carlos Sainz is going to go around the outside of Charles Leclerc as the pit face has actually opened up. As we can see, the Hamilton and Perez both taking advantage of the pitting a little bit early, and so we're going to try and see here if the undercut is going to be anywhere powerful enough to try and make something work, and it definitely has, as we're now actually ahead of Sergio Perez. So we've essentially gone from about 14th, I reckon we were, when we made the pit stop, to running now within the top 6, because remember, the battle for the lead was the top 6 cars of the 2 Mercedes, the 2 Red Bulls, and the 2 Ferraris, and we've got Lewis Hamilton only just in front of us, but Sergio Perez would definitely want to be getting past us pretty quickly, and it's not going to take too long for his opportunity to arise, as Perez sends it down the inside at turn 12, which is, again, a bit of an unorthodox move, but we're going to let him take it because we now should get the DRS from Sergio Perez. Unfortunately, we just don't have the pace to stay with him, but in the end, this is how powerful this undercut is. We're now right behind Max Verstappen. I don't think we're going to be able to get past him, as he is now on fresh hard tyres, and these hard tyres seem to be doing a very good job providing us the grip we need around this very high degradation circuit. So we're now currently sitting P6. We're inside this top 6 battle for the lead. We've currently got the 2 Ferraris behind us as well. So these 2 Ferraris, they're definitely going to be wanting to try and get past us extremely quickly, as well, as we're now going to do a bit of an order check now that the pit phase is kind of ended. So Hamilton has found himself back in the lead with the 2 Red Bulls now joining him on the podium as it stands. So George Russell has kind of been shot in the foot there with his strategy a little bit, and we find ourselves now at P5 after starting last in this Grand Prix. So it's lap 16, we're already P5, which is kind of a hats off to Mark in the strategy group at Brabham Racing, and Leclerc, Alonso, Sainz, Ocon and Norris find themselves rounding out the top 10, and then we have a bit look. Stroll's outside of the top 10, so a little bit disappointing considering his teammate is inside the top 10. Albon, Magnussen, the only remaining Haas after Nico Hülkenberg suffered an engine failure very early on in the race. Piastri, the two Alfa Romeos of Bottas and Zhou, then the two Alfa Tauris of Tsunoda and De Vries. Then you find yourself Gasly in P19, so he's really struggling, and once again, his teammate Ocon is inside the points, and then Iwasa is now ahead of Logan Sargent, which is good to see as he has now made up that one position on the American driver. So, again, we still want to try and see Iwasa trying to get himself into the points as we now jump ahead to Carlos Sainz. He is making the overtake on Fernando Alonso. He's going to try and go around the outside. Fernando Alonso is going to try and keep it on the inside, but in the end, that outside line working well once more. And now, not too much later, Carlos Sainz is breezing past us. We tried to defend it as little bit as we could, but in the end, that Ferrari has got a lot of pace this weekend to our disregard. So, in the end, George Russell now, he's been making moves. He's found himself getting past both Verstappen and now Perez. So now, it's back to a Mercedes 1-2, Red Bull 3-4. So the Mercedes definitely seem like they've got the overpowering pace against the Red Bulls this weekend, as now Fernando Alonso makes the way around the outside of turn 4. So a very brave move from the Spaniard. And if you didn't see it, our tyre wear icon has popped up, and we've still got a fair bit of this race to go, so we're going to be struggling when it comes to the end of this Grand Prix, as now the two Red Bulls are battling it out, and Verstappen makes his way back past Sergio Perez to claim that final podium paying position, as now we're trying to get back by Fernando Alonso, because I reckon we could just about defend from Fernando here for the rest of this race, even though he's on the fresh and medium tyres, and our tyres are definitely cooked. As each lap goes by, that tyre wear icon gets darker and darker, as now looking, our fronts are at 74 and 71%, so we are very much now in puncture territory, and we've still got 7 laps to go, as we're now coming to the end, lap 22, and we're going to call it. We're pulling into the pits, and we'll go this time. Now with extremely worn tyres, we are not taking any chances with this pit lane speed limiter. We're taking it extremely cautious, and we're going to chuck on a fresh set of soft tyres to try and make up any sort of gap that we've got here. So I reckon we should come out in about P15, P16. So if we're able to try and get ourselves back into the points, that'll be wicked. So we'll just have to keep in mind, we came into the pits from P8, battling Fernando Alonso for P7. So if we can try and get anywhere close to that, I reckon we've done well on the strategy here to decide that we should come in for another pit stop, as coming on to the end of lap 23. It's only been a lap since we put on these soft tyres. We've already caught up to Pierre Gasly, who is 2 seconds in front of us, and we've set a purple middle sector. So we've made the move around the outside of turn 16 of Pierre Gasly. We're now in the slipstream and the DRS of Yuki Tsunoda, so we should be able to make a move on both Gasly and Tsunoda on the main straight, and we're actually going to send it around the outside. We've got so much grip, we're going to just casually drive around the outside of Zhou Guanyu while we're at it as well. So we've made 3 positions there within 2 corners, so an absolute mega call for us to come onto these soft tyres, and we're just going to keep trying to make up more and more positions, as now Carlos Sainz has now got by both the Red Bulls as well. So Carlos Sainz is now definitely one of the fastest cars on the grid, so he'll be aiming to try and get past the 2 Mercedes as well to try and claim another race victory this season, as we cross the line now, and we've set the fastest lap of the race at 1:23.2, which is an absolute ripper of a lap, and we've now caught up to the back of Valtteri Bottas as well. And just on our pure exit speed and how much traction we're getting off these corners, we're going to pull up alongside of Valtteri Bottas and make the move around the outside, and we're going to keep driving now. We've got 4 seconds to catch to Esteban Ocon, and it doesn't take us very long at all to try and catch up to him, but he's going extremely slowly. I wonder if he's got a bit of damage, and right as I'm wondering that, the safety car is out, so I wonder if he's made contact with someone, and there's quite a bit of debris left on the circuit, because he is going ridiculously slow. We caught up to him way too quickly, as we now, right on board actually, this is Pierre Gasly, and he's made heavy contact with, it looks like, the Alfa Romeo of Zhou Guanyu. So I wonder what's happened here. So Zhou's made contact with one of the Alfa Tauris, and then he's kind of pinballed between the Alfa Tauri and the Alpine of Gasly and cause his front wing to come up. So that's why the safety car's out. So a late race safety car, which is bunched up the field, which is going to work out well for us. Sorry, Hamilton and Russell still lead the way. So it's a 1-2 for Mercedes once more, and Carlos Sainz is currently third, so he's going to be joining them on the podium as well. Max Verstappen and Sergio Perez find themselves fourth and fifth. Leclerc, and then the two Aston Martins of Alonso and Stroll. So Stroll's really turned his race around. Remember, we were talking about how he must be feeling knowing that his teammate was inside the points and he was outside of the points. And then you got the two McLarens of Norris and then Piastri rounding out the points in P9 and P10. And then we're currently looking further down the pack. Wasser is still yet to catch up to the queue, and we've got Gasly and Joe both in the pit lane. And now, the safety car is coming in this lap. But guess what? We haven't caught up to the pack yet. We've got Ock in front of us still going so slow, and he hasn't caught up to the pack. So this is now really, this is going to be terrible for our chances of trying to get back into the points, because now not only do we have to immediately try and get past Ocon, and remember, the green flag's going to come out. We're going to be racing from about this point onwards, but we're not going to be able to actually overtake him until the control line. So we're going to have to sit back behind him for all of this extra time without being able to overtake him. So we're going to have to try and get a really good run here out of the final corner, down the main straight, essentially pull up alongside of him, which we're going to try and do. But that straight line of the Alpine is just superior towards us, and we're in his slipstream, we're pulling away. Now we've got Valtteri Bottas trying to make a move on us, so we're going to have to quickly defend from him and then make the move around the outside of Esteban Ocon. And then now we've got 3 seconds to try and catch up to Alex Albon. So thankfully we've made up that deficit pretty quickly, and we're going to make a cheeky move down the inside at the final corner, turn 16, on Alex Albon, get a half decent run, and now we're going to be trying to catch up to Kevin Magnussen. And by the time we get the turn 5, that's exactly what we've done. So now we're going to be trying to make a dive bomb into turn 6, and that's exactly what we do. We've made the dive bomb successfully, and now we're going to be trying to look to get around the outside at turn 7. Oscar Piastri, remember, we're on the soft tire, so we've got superior grip to him, but we can't quite get it done. So now we're going to be trying to set up that, probably my favorite move around this circuit, going into turn 10. Just stick it around the outside of him, around turn 9, and send it up at turn 10. So probably my favorite move on the calendar. But now we've got half a second, 6/10 to try and make up to Lando Norris. Oscar Piastri is going to try and send it up the inside at turn 12. We run wide just slightly, but we're going to keep it pinned because he kind of forced us to go off a little bit. And now, can we at all in these last 2 corners try and make up enough time to get past Lando Norris? We made up almost 3/10 just through turn 15. We're going to try and set up the cutback on Lando Norris, and he gets a bit of a wiggle, and he ended up having to slam on the brakes on the exit of the corner, and we ran up the back of his car, ripping off half of our front wing, and we tried to get a bit of a run to the line, but it wasn't quite enough to try and get us into P9, so we have to settle for P10. So I reckon that safety car definitely helped us in catching up to the rest of the pack. But Ocon was just driving so slowly underneath the safety car that we couldn't even catch up to the pack, which was a bit of a shame.
Have won it, and what a great race it was. Talk to me, Ant. What was it that set them apart from the competition today?
I feel like consistency was probably the key today. There's being quick, and then there's being quick lap after lap after lap. If you can do that, you can capitalise on other people's errors without making many of your own. And that's an approach that can push you a long way up the field.
After a magnificent race, we can now see the drivers making their way to the podium. Once again, it's the Silver Arrows who take the top spot. A well-earned victory for Mercedes.
So this victory ends up being Lewis Hamilton's 104th victory in Formula 1. And that is another 1-2 to add to the books for Mercedes as well. A late race charge from us after having to make a second pit stop despite the high tyre wear did end up proving us to get some points. And I would have much rather come into the pits and actually make it to the finish line still inside the points rather than trying to make it onto the end of those extremely worn hard tyres and risk a puncture and not getting anything at all. So in the end, Max Verstappen, Sergio Perez, Charles Leclerc, Fernando Alonso, Lance Stroll, Lando Norris and myself round out the top 10. We also get 2 points as well in the end for getting the fastest lap as well, so it's no longer just the 1 point for getting the top 10. Yuki Tsunoda was another driver who had a bit of a alright race. He was in P16 and maintained his position. As we now take a look to our driver standings, the gap between Lewis Hamilton and Max Verstappen has come down quite dramatically, as that was 81 points coming into the race weekend, and it's now only 64. And then there's a bit of a title battle here between Carlos Sainz, Charles Leclerc, and one of the Brits, I reckon it was, who are all battling for that third paying position. Red Bull extend their lead, actually. They actually lose their lead to Mercedes. Well, not lose the lead, but it has been shortened down, and we still find ourselves in that midfield battle between Aston Martin and McLaren, more mainly between McLaren, as now we actually get asked by the personnel department about what we should do about our second driver's fitness. I reckon we should send him to the gym a bit more. He definitely needs all the help he can get to try and get himself his first career points, and I'm kind of giving him an ultimatum at the moment. If he can get points, he keeps his seat in the team, and we'll just continue to develop him as our second driver. So he really needs to try and get those points. And after this race weekend, because of those new regulation changes, we're not going to be doing any upgrades whatsoever going into Qatar. Our car is going to be kind of staying where it is for now for the remainder of the season, which is only going to be a few races, so then we can try and make sure we've got plenty of R&D points to hit the ground running in upgrading the car next season, and also to try and not lose any of the crucial upgrades we made so far this season. So that will be all for this episode. So if you did enjoy, please make sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next episode, which will be Texas.